Hello, 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 and welcome back to a new edition of Guitar Chat. Here we are again. This is the number 57. We've been doing this for 57 times already, and we couldn't be happier. You know, this is the show in which we talk about life, music, guitars, music again, guitars again, a little bit of life as well. You know, this is how we have fun, and this is how we connect with each other. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being at the other side of the screen. And if you know this already, Guitar Chat is brought to you by Vegatrem, the best tremolo systems in the world. So I always ask you to be part of this family. What do you have to do to be part of it? It's pretty easy. You just have to hit this subscribe button and give us a like as well. Leave a comment as well, because we're doing these t-shirt giveaways. In any of these shows, we are raffling these pretty cool t-shirts, and the only thing you have to do is to be subscribed to our YouTube channel or leave us a like on Facebook as well, and leave a comment on any of our live streams. It's that easy, and you can be rocking one of these pretty cool t-shirts. So I'm gonna say the name of last show's winner. His name is John Cardona. Congratulations, John. You've been the winner. So we're going to get in touch with you to give you one of these amazing t-shirts. Besides that, we have a discount code that we are sharing in every of our shows, and it's going to appear here at any moment. So if I were you, I wouldn't miss anything, because it's going to be around here underneath my image here. And with that discount code, you can go to our website and make your purchase. When you're ready to check out, you type it there, and you're gonna get a very, very nice discount. And you can use it for more than one tremolo. You can use it for 5, for 10. You can buy as many as you want. The only thing is that you can only use it once. And it's gonna be available 48 hours after the broadcast of this show. Okay, also, if you follow us on social media, probably you've heard already about the Vegatrem challenge. Do you want to know what it is? Check this out. If you play guitar and want to be part of the Vegatrem family, listen to this. We are introducing the Vegatrem challenge. Each month, we will propose a piece of music for you to play. It could be a lick, a phrase, a riff, etc. You will have to learn it and make it your own. You can use it in any way you want. You can change the tempo, you can change the fingering, change the key, change the harmony. We want you to be yourself. Each month we will announce a new Vegatrem challenge. Once you learn it, you can start making your video. Then follow these steps. Number 1, follow us on Instagram. Number 2, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Number 3, tag us on your video. Number 4, use the hashtag Vegatrem Challenge. Among all the participants, we will choose the best one, and the winner will have a brand new VT1 for their guitar. The name of the winner will be revealed on the first edition of each month on our podcast, Guitar Chat. Are you ready? Well, don't miss this and grab your guitar. Okay, well, as always, everybody did a great job. But, of course, we always have to choose one. And the winner of January's Vegatrem Challenge is Mr. B-Boy, Ross Allen. Congratulations, Ross. You've been the winner. We're going to get in touch with you and we're going to send you a brand new VT1 so you can enjoy it on your guitar. The rest of you, don't worry, because every month you're going to have another chance to participate, another chance to play, another chance to learn the lick and send us the video so you can win another VT1. And talking about this new month's Vegatrem challenge, this time we're gonna have today's guest, Mr. Kerry Marshall. He's gonna be the one who's gonna share the favorites Vegatrem challenge, the lick. So let's check it out.
What's going on? My name is Kerry Too Smooth, and today I want to show you a lick. I'm going to be playing this lick in B flat, but you could essentially play it in any key that you want to. But I like this lick; it really fits really well. So.
Well, there you have it. You just have to learn it and send your video and you're gonna be able to participate in our Vegatrem challenge. So now, without further ado, let's check out Mr. Kerry Too Smooth Marshall Jr. interview. This week on Guitar Chat, we have a true master of the R&B and Gospel guitar. Kerry Too Smooth Marshall has become a fundamental reference for guitar players thanks to his incredible taste, beautiful tone, and interesting concept in terms of chord voicing and arrangements.
People keep asking about this glow I seem to have, 'cause I'm just not.
His talent has led him to play with huge artists such as Tori Kelly, Chrisette Michelle, Ledisi and Jason Derulo.
All of me has changed.
From his YouTube channel with 140,000 subscribers, he does a wonderful job teaching guitar players to achieve the next level. Don't miss this episode of Guitar Chat with Kerry Too Smooth Marshall Jr. Well, here we are with Mr. Kerry Too Smooth Marshall. Welcome to Guitar Chat. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm great. Glad to be here, man.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I want to know, where does that nickname come from? Because it's Too Smooth. Tell me a little bit about that.
All right, so the nickname came from, I used to, like, way back in the day, growing up when I played guitar, I never moved. Like, I was just one of those kids that played it was stationary. So somebody was like, yo, who was that? Like, oh, that's just Too Smooth. He don't really move. He's just Too Smooth. And it just kind of stuck. And so it kind of became like a little nickname that everybody just like, oh, who was that? Oh, that's just Too Smooth. And so when I started to, become more professional, I was trying to think about branding. I was like, how can I, brand myself? And I was like, just use your nickname. And that's kind of how the name just became, grew and grew. So.
Yeah, so it was pretty natural, right, for you,
Yeah,
because everybody was calling you that already, right?
right, exactly. Because I never moved when I played. I just stay still.
Very concentrated, very focused.
Yeah, very focused.
Okay, how old were you back then?
I was probably more like I started out playing when I was 11, but when I got the nickname, it was probably closer to like 14, 15.
Okay, but you started playing when you were 11 years old,
Yeah,
right?
11 years old. I used to grab a guitar. I could hear melodies, couldn't play really chords really well. So like if I heard a record and I heard a singer like sing a line, I could kind of mimic that line. So that's kind of like where I started to kind of gravitate to like, oh, I like this. I just want to be able to do more, so.
Did you grow up in a musical family? Did you have it easy or not?
So I would say my father was semi-musical. Like he wanted to play bass, but he wasn't a professional. We had music playing in the house. So, we would back at that time. My dad had like an 8-track player, so he would play his 8 tracks. in the house. We played records, or once we got like cassettes and then CDs. But music was always kind of in the house, but nobody was like wanted to play like professionally. It was kind of was just like, oh, something that we did as a family. You know, we just like to have fun, kind of get together as a recreational thing.
So you were the first one who decided to like to go for it, like
yeah.
Why did you decide to do that rather than doing other things like, I don't know, like studying something else? Or
Well, honestly, to be honest with you, like, so I joined the military, and the day that I realized that I wanted to play music professionally, it was a talent show. And I won the talent show, but it was that moment. But before, I was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get out of the Army, I'm gonna go back to school, because I was going to school for criminal justice. I'll just work for the sheriff's department, like super chill. But there was something that was tugging at me, like, no, like you really want to pursue this. So even when I tried to work at the sheriff's department, like for a little bit, I found myself being like, I still want to play music. I was still trying to like, there was a local band. I would go to rehearsal. So I just felt like it was something that was just calling at me that I had to go pursue, and I had to see what it was.
Nice. So it's like a calling, right, for all of us, because I mean, it's now that you're saying all this, it sounds like almost like my own story as well, because I started when I was 11 years old, like yourself, and I started taking it more seriously around 18, something like that, So it's kind of similar. And what kind of music were you into when you were doing that?
So I grew up in church, so of course gospel music was like the foundation. But then I found R&B, and like one of the first artists that I found and I discovered was D'Angelo, and his sound was so unique to me because it felt like you could hear the church influence, but it was something that was so musical. I didn't know music could do that. I thought music was just like, kind of the quartet vibe, like the traditional gospel. And so when I saw that music could do so much, it just opened my mind up. It's just like I had this aha epiphany, like, oh my God, I want to explore this. Because I didn't know you could do all this with like horns and with guitars, with keys. I didn't know it could be so musical. So initially I would say gospel, then it branched off into R&B. And then from R&B, I was awarded the opportunities to kind of dive into singer-songwriter, to pop, to hip-hop. So I've gotten a chance to kind of almost touch a lot of different genres just from R&B and gospel.
That's awesome. And I think like being a gospel musician, to me, seems like you get a very, very, very solid skill set, because I don't think it's an easy music to play. You need to be.
It's right, yeah. And I like the fact that you said that, because I try to tell people all the time. One of the things that I learned as a professional, those people that had like a church background or a gospel background did transition a little easier to the professional, like the secular realm, because you have to learn so much and do so much, especially as a guitar player. There's so many responsibilities that you have to do. You have to learn how to play these lines. You do have to chord. You do have to play the rhythm. And a lot of these things that, even though you may go to school, they don't teach you the nuances of how to cover all, such a wide span in one space at one time. So gospel music, gospel guitars really have a good foundation.
And also, not only the musical thing, but the work ethic. Because, for instance, playing in church, you need to be every Sunday. You need to be on top of your game, right? So
exactly,
you become a professional musician even before you are a professional musician, because of course, I mean, probably the church leader is on top of you, telling you, hey, you need to learn these songs, you need to learn this, you need to make sure you have all the changes ready and all that stuff, right?
Definitely, for sure. I mean, because especially if you're playing, doesn't matter if you're playing at a small church or a big church, but like your responsibility as a guitarist, they definitely are on you, depending on, how strict or how big your church is. Your responsibility is like, oh, make sure you learn these lines. Right here, we need you to, give us that funk kind of feel. Like, so there's a lot of things that you have to do in that one space, sitting in that seat, even though people are like, I think we talked about this yesterday, about how like when we do live recordings for a guitar player, you play gospel music, you're asked to do so many responsibilities. That's why they're like, yo, you can come for the live session, but we're going to send you this so you can overdub, because there's so much stuff that you have to do. So you definitely have to wear a lot of hats in that seat.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, the transition to go into like playing on a tour must be very easy for you, because you've been doing this for so many years already. or not? Tell
Well,
me a little bit about.
I would never say it's easy. It depends on the style. Now, I would never say it's easy because, sometimes learning these different arrangements that some of
Okay.
these programmers come up with can be really extensive because they know they're like, oh, he too smooth can definitely handle this. So let's just give him some crazy idea. So you're just like, what? So, having to understand how to manage it, how to find your placement in your tone because, like a lot of times, as a guitar player, you already know guitars have different tones.
Oh
So
yeah.
understanding which guitars to take for the tour, will I have a tech, what kind of gear, you start to get into the science of it a little bit. So that's one of the things that I've learned as a professional growing up. Like, it's more than just you playing the guitar, but you got to understand the science of ensuring that your sound sounds exactly like the record. So that way, when you're on these stages, it's just like people are not like, what is that sound? Doesn't sound right. It just doesn't feel right. Everything feels really good. So you just trying to find out the sweet spots is really kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. I guess, I mean, it's a whole a whole journey you have to go through,
Yeah.
of course, and that's also the beautiful thing about this, because I
Right.
mean, maybe you can be super, I don't know, super comfortable in one gig, and on the next one everything changes for some reason, and
Completely.
you have to put up with that, and you have to, you have to perform anyway, right?
Yeah. I tell people, like, when I'm on tour, the first 3 shows are still like my warm-up shows. Maybe by the 4th or 5th show, I feel like I'm almost on autopilot. Like, the muscle memory is there. I know what the expectation with the lights. I just kind of know the flow of the show. But the
Uh-huh.
first 2 or 3 shows, like, I tell people, like, if I got some friends that are coming to the show, I'm like, yo, come to like the 4th or 5th one. We'll be locked by that one. Don't judge me on the first 2 or 3. Like,
Doesn't it happen to you that sometimes you think that when the band's sounding the best, the tour is almost over?
yes, because listen, we've been running the same thing for like months or for weeks, whatever the case may be, depending on how long the tour is. We feel comfortable, like we really, really know it. You're playing generally the same thing every night. There may be some nuance changes here or there, but for the most part, you're running the same thing, so you feel comfortable, like you're on autopilot. You don't have to think about it. Muscle memory is there. You get to kind of just flow.
And
It's
you're
really
enjoying
cool.
already, right? You're
Of
just
course,
feeling
of
it.
course, of course.
that's that's awesome. So tell me how did you start touring with or playing with people like Jason Derulo or Tori
Okay.
Kelly, things like that? How did you make that leap?
So for me, I was from a small town in Alabama. Well, mid small town like Birmingham, Alabama is not a very big place in comparison
Okay,
to like LA.
okay,
Um, but I wanted to play for those type of artists, so I had to move. So I moved the end of 2013 and just kind of like rolled the dice. Like I'm gonna just try it. So while I got out there, I went to a lot of jam sessions and network. And while I was out there, I started to tell some of the main guys that have been playing in front of me, like when they're going on these tours, I'll be your sub. And so being their subs, networking with these guys, kind of staying connected. The MD for Jason Derulo at the same time was also MDing Kendrick Lamar. And
okay.
this is when Kendrick Lamar was taking off really, really big. And sometimes I would suffer him on Jason Derulo. So he was like, yo, like, if you want the gig, man. I'm like, if I want the gig, heck yeah, I want the gig. So I was out with Derulo for a number of years. And man, like, it was phenomenal. That gig forced me to grow musically, learn me to work on my artistry because, again, a small town kid from Alabama, grew up in church, didn't understand like all of the showmanship, so like understanding how to like be in rehearsals. You're gonna have 14-hour days for tour rehearsal.
Yeah.
Understanding getting there, getting yourself set up, like what to tell your tech, what you need specifically in the show, how to make everything run fluently. So that's how I got on with Derulo. How I got on with Tori Kelly was a good friend of mine. I had done some stuff with him. They said Tori was looking for a gospel guitarist at the time, and so he was like, "Yo, man, I love your sound, I love your tone." But again, that came back to like the personal relationships, like building those relationships. I tell a lot of my students and a lot of my friends, like the biggest currency in the world is networking, personal relationships, because it's about like who you know and who knows you. Like I've gotten plenty of calls. I don't even know how people got my phone number. When they got my number and they're like, "Yo, man, I would love to have you on this." And that's kind of how the Tori Kelly thing fell into my lap, and that was a dream come true. Another interesting story is when I was in Malta. We did Isles of Malta from with Jason Derulo. Tori Kelly was on the same ticket. They went on before we did. What was crazy is when I sat on the plane, my seat was right next to Tori. So
Okay.
this is probably 4 or 5 years prior.
Oh,
And
wow.
I asked Tori like, yo, do you mind if I know you don't have your makeup on. Do you mind if I take a picture? She's like, yeah, we'll take a picture at the show. So we took a picture at the show. Like 4 or 5 years later, I'm walking in her rehearsal working with her. So it's just crazy how like you never know who you're gonna meet, and
That's
how
right.
to just be a cool person because you never know how your paths will cross again. And to have that opportunity. So as soon as I walked into rehearsal, she was
Uh-huh.
like, I know you. And I was like, I explained and I showed her the picture. She's like, oh my God, that's crazy. So things were worked out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and this is something very important that you mentioned is being like a, I don't know, like a, it's not only about being a great musician, but being a likable person, right? Being
Of
someone,
course.
right? Someone who's nice enough so people can hang around you and everything, right? So because at the end of the day, you're gonna spend so many hours with those people,
Just
they're gonna
hanging
become
out.
your family, right?
Right, exactly. I remember there's a couple tours that I went on where the artists would want to hang out with you, like just to see what your personality was like, because we spent more time on the bus than we did on the stage, which made a lot of sense. Like, can we cohabitate? Do you have good energy? And that's when I learned that the importance of just being a great people person. Because if you're not a
Uh-huh.
good people person, you could be the most talented musician, but if you're an a-hole, nobody wants to deal with you. Nobody wants to be around you. Nobody wants to. They just don't want to put up with it. So
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, it's just not about your playing ability. You have to be a great person.
Yeah, that's totally. I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's totally true, and of course, I mean, you also need to have the chops, but I think it's
Yeah.
more important the other thing. And I mean, in your case, you totally have the chops, so of course that's why.
appreciate appreciate it.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
man, that's why you have. That's why I mean, you have that resume and everything, and it's very very cool. Something that I really 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 love about your playing is the articulate way in which you play chords. It's like,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're more like a blend between a rhythm player and a lead player all at
Yes.
once, and it's so
Yeah.
incredibly nice.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Like this, that comes from that church background. I used to really sit with a lot of organ players, and if you ever gone to like a gospel church, a lot of organ players will like pad throughout the service, and they're able to kind of make it flow. And I was always just like blown away with that, like, yo, how do you do that? So I would sit there and just ask like questions, like, what chord are you playing? Why did you change? I know I was probably annoying them, but they're probably just like, whatever, man. We'll show you. We'll show you. So I would just glean until I learned, like, okay, this is how you want to make this flow into this. This is how you want to keep the melody going, so people can understand and identify the song that you're playing and know what you're doing. So yeah, it became like just really just understanding that and making it my own. So
Uh-huh.
that's really what I pride myself on. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, that would be your trademark. I would say,
Yeah.
as a guitar player, and I really enjoy how you use the clean tone. I know you
Yeah.
also use distortion sometimes,
Yeah.
but the stuff that I really personally enjoy the most about your playing
Mm-hmm.
is whenever you
Oh
pick
man.
like a chord progression and you make it sound so beautifully.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
man, it's very 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 nice. Another thing that I that I noticed is that you use like a lot of guitars, man. Do you own
Oh
all those
yeah.
guitars?
Yeah, so the thing, I mean, it's awesome how it worked out. I started to learn about tones,
Okay.
and so what I realized is like a lot of guitars, even though they may look the same, they do different things. And so
Yes.
now, like in my career, I started to realize the nuances of when I'm playing on a certain tour or playing for a particular artist, the tones that fit that artist the most. Like
Hmm.
I feel like I'm a strat guy, but sometimes something with the humbucker is a little bit more present. It just kind of resonates a little bit when you listen back to the playback. Because I'll ask like the front of the house guy, like, can I get a copy of the playback? And I'll listen to it, and I'm like, oh, I love playing this guitar, but it's just a little too thin for this particular sound. I need to have something a little bit thicker. So that's what really made me start to get into the nuances of having. So now it's just like having enough options. So whenever you get a call to do whatever you got to do, whether it be a session, if you got to play live or be on tour, having all the tools that you need to have. So yeah, I've been very fortunate to build a catalog of guitars that I have.
That's very cool. So, for instance, when you're in a session, Would you rather change guitars before tweaking an amp or tweaking pedals or things like that?
So what I try to typically do now since they have so many amazing amp modelers, I try to go in like with them. So like either for me, I'll bring the Helix, and then sometimes I've used the Kemper on certain things because the modelers nowadays are so good and so
Oh
like
yeah,
you can almost match whatever kind of tone you want.
that's
So I
right.
try to find something that's going to be. I've got a few guitars that I feel like are always good on records. Like my Gretsch, I feel like she always shows up on every record. Doesn't matter what it is. I mean, I've used it on gospel gigs, I've used it on pop gigs, I've used it on all types of recordings. So I feel like the Gretsch shows up. Now that of course, there's some things like the producer will be like, well, I hear more of a Strat here, so I try to have like certain Strats that I use specifically just for recordings. I don't really play them out live because sometimes they just don't give me the sound. The intonation's a little weird. They're really temperamental, but in the studio they always show up. So I've got a few just go to like session guitars and everything else that I use mainly for live.
Nice, nice. I've seen you lately a lot using PRS guitars, like
Yeah.
for instance that blue beautiful Fiore
Oh
that
yeah.
you have.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And how do you like that guitar? Because I think it's pretty interesting because it has the single coils in the neck and in the middle, but then you have the humbucker. Do you like that more than the Silver Sky, for instance?
Okay, so with my Silver Sky, so I initially got my Silver Sky, it came stock, but I like the HSS setup, so I put a humbucker in the bridge. Now the
Okay.
difference between these two guitars is number one is the neck, you got the tone keys, you got the truss rod covers, but what the guitar can do. So the VRA, I didn't realize how versatile it was until I took it out on the road, and accidentally one day I was just making sure that the tone knob was right, and I pulled it up, and I was like, oh snap, it's tapped, it's a coil tap. So when I realized, and not only just like one, it has two coil taps on it. So what Mark did with this guitar literally gave you like a Swiss Army knife. This guitar can cover so much real estate. Unlike the Silver Sky, it's still Strat. It's like you get Strat vibes.
It's like a more traditional sound, right? I would
Yeah,
say.
more traditional sound. So of course, for a lot of records that I play and a lot of gigs that I play, it fits perfectly for all of those gigs. And the
Yeah.
tone that I put in the Lambert tone Crema pickup in it, and it pairs really well with that guitar. But playing the Fiore, I didn't realize how versatile it was until, like I said, to get on this last run. And I was in sound checking one day, just messing around, and I thought I pulled the knob too hard. I thought it came off. And I was like, no, it's a tap. And I started playing. I was like, oh my God. So I had to personally text Mark and be like, yo, you really built this guitar really well. So they're similar in how they look, but different in like what their capabilities are, what they can do. So right now, like I'm definitely like feeling the Fiore because it just covers so much real estate. I don't need to take another guitar as a spare or backup. But I'll never like forget the Silver Sky because it's just I have a bond with that guitar, like the sound and the overall tones. It's just so warm and it sounds really good. So.
Yeah, that's another cool thing about guitars. Sometimes you develop like a relationship with them.
Oh, it's true. Very true. I feel like it's an extension of you.
Right? Yeah. It's
Yeah.
and no matter. Sometimes, I mean, they're not perfect. They have flaws and they have
Right.
little problems. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, you like them for different reasons, right?
Exactly. I mean, I tell people all the time. And some people are like, well, why do you have so many guitars? I said, they're like shoes. We all have a lot of pairs of shoes. They technically go on your feet, but they all do different things. You don't wear like your nice shoes when you're going out to play basketball. You don't wear your basketball shoes when you're going to a nice formal event. So they all do different jobs. When I tell it like that, people are like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's difficult, for people to understand as guitar players,
Right.
because, like, for instance, my wife always asks me, "Why do you need so many guitars?" And probably that has happened to you as well.
Oh, plenty of times. Trust me. Especially when I got this new one in. She was like, did they send you another guitar? I was like, this one, I'm trying to explain it. I'm like, you just got to listen to it. You got to listen to it.
That's right. Yeah, it's a different sound, and it's gonna. Does this happen to you that with a different tone, it makes you play differently as well, right?
Yes. Listen, there's something number one about a new guitar, but once you find that it has a different tone, it opens up another level of creativity that I have.
That's
Sometimes when I
right.
get a brand new acoustic guitar, and I love acoustics because number one, it's an intimate instrument that really you can't doctor it up. With guitars, you can still put pedals and kind of make it sound like whatever acoustic, but like just the warmth of the wood, the different kind of tones, it unlocks like this different level of creativity, of songwriting, of just like, wow, I can put these together. A chord progression you want to go back and visit. I didn't know I could do these changes over here. So yeah, I definitely new guitars definitely unlock a new level of like just creativity that I think is amazing.
That's why we need to have like many of them.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, I also want to ask you about, first of all, I want to ask you about social media, because I
Okay.
knew you through social media,
Right.
and I know you have a very successful YouTube channel. You're very big on Instagram too. Do you think that was a big part of, or is being right now a big part of your career, being active on social media?
Yeah, I think so, because what it allows me to do is it allows you to interact with people who would never probably get a chance to see you or meet you, right? So like you just said, we got connected on social media.
Yeah.
Had I not used social media, like we probably never would have crossed paths. So it's a great tool if you use it properly, to get you connected to people all over the world, to share ideas, exchange information, and just build a network. So I try to tell most of my students, don't be intimidated by social media. Use it as a tool. And I know sometimes people can be ruthless, especially when you're sharing your gift or when you're just playing. People be like, "Oh, that sucks. It's horrible."
Yeah.
You have to learn how to almost tune it out, because you're not for everybody. Just like you go to a restaurant, we all go to the same restaurant, get the same meal. 3 of us may like it, 2 of us like, this is the worst, and it's all prepared the same way. So you're not always going to be for everybody, but again, if you use it as a tool and understanding what it is, it can be beneficial, and you can build some real cool relationships.
Oh yeah.
Just off of like social media. So yeah, I think as being a professional, especially for me, it has been an amazing tool that allowed me to get connected to students, to get connected with other like just friends that I built with, other guitar players, and even other brands that I've worked on lifelong partnerships with. That where it started out as a partnership, but now we've become like friends and family, like personal friends. So it's been really cool.
Yeah. Does it happen to you sometimes that you run out of ideas for new videos, for new things to talk about?
Of course. But
how do you get out of that?
Well, this is a great thing. So like people are always going to leave comments, right? And so go back and read the comments. Sometimes some people will ask you and be like, I may have played the same progression 4 or 5 times, but people are like, but why did you choose to go to this chord? So that gives me another idea of explaining like, well, I ripped to the the 2 chord right here because when I'm playing, I'm thinking about, so I can talk about nuances like that. So you'll find different things where people will kind of give you the ideas to talk about new material when that you kind of run out. Go back and read the comments and see somebody's like, oh, can you do this? Can you teach this? Can you talk about this? And they'll just add, they'll almost like Hansel and Gretel, you give you all the like the little nuggets and all the crumbs to kind of figure out how to make a meal. So that's typically what I do sometimes when I run out of ideas. I'll just go back and reread the comments.
Nice, man. That's an awesome idea. Of course, I mean,
Yeah.
and in the end, you're having a relationship with your audience,
Of course,
right?
of course.
You're hearing them, and in the end, you're shaping your content through your audience as well. I think it's a very, very interesting thing.
Right,
I've never
exactly.
thought about it that way, but I think it's pretty. I mean, it makes sense, of course.
Yeah, I mean, because you got people with different ideas that ask different questions. There's stuff that you probably never thought about, or you just kind of like, it just was fleeting, or maybe you thought about it, but you're like, nobody wants to know about that. They'll ask the question. There you go. That's confirmation for you to talk about it, or share the information or to teach.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, down here we have something that's moving all the time, that it's called Kerry's Camp. Tell me a little bit about that.
So how Kerry's Camp developed was, there was several years ago, I was in LA, and I was doing lessons, Skype lessons, which is great.
Okay.
But Skype lessons is a one-on-one in the sense of like I can't teach multiple people at the same time, right?
Yes.
And being touring or whatever, it was just it limited me in who I could interact with because of time, right? I lived in an apartment complex in LA. My neighbors were really cool, but they were like, man, I mean, it's early in the morning, bro. You playing guitar at like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, because the time difference would be, if I'm talking to someone on the other side of the world, they're like, man, like you're playing guitar crazy late, man. We're going to have to cut it off. So I was like, number one, how can I reach the masses? And so my business partner and I got together and we developed something called Kerry's Camp. And I talk about this like in my testimonial on social media. I talked about like how I started, how I was really raw, didn't know anything. I had to learn a lot of things, just going through the community, of just, you know, cutting my teeth on learning how to go to auditions. I didn't make this one. Somebody was like, work on this, work on this. So I kind of just put everything together, and I said once I got to a certain level in my career, I was going to always give back. And that's what Kerry's Camp is. Kerry's Camp is a community of guitar players, literally guitarists all over the world, all ages. It doesn't matter where you're from, but all different backgrounds, where we get to come together in a safe space. And I share the ideas of how to make guitar simple, so that way you can have the joys. And everybody that's in the camp doesn't want to aspire to like play on the mainstream artists. Some people just want to play for themselves, play for their friends and family, or play locally. And that's what I love about it. Like, everybody's on a different level, or success looks different to everybody on that level. So Kerry's Camp is just, it's I call it my baby. From like, I promised myself when I got to a certain level, I was always going to give back. And now that we're here at that level, that's what we're doing. We're able to influence like guitars all over the world. At one time, we had well over 800 students, and we're constantly growing. So that's what I love about Kerry's Camp. Mm-hmm.
Man, that's great. That's beautiful. So how do you approach, like, for instance, your own development, like technically, or I guess my question is, how is your study routine? You know, when you try to stay in shape, you know, with your chords, with your shapes, with your fingers, how do you approach that?
So the main thing for me that I always want to do is I want to work on techniques that are going to be used and applied when I play. So number one, I always want to work on dexterity. So like going through scales, working on different pattern ideas. Like I don't just do the regular like scales up and down the neck. Sometimes I'll adjust for different patterns in order to work on different kind of scale patterns. But then too, I want to apply it also with me playing. So I may play a groove and then add in those licks. So that way it's always trying to work on nuance that I'm going to be using when I'm playing. So I try to focus and structure my rehearsals, my own practice time, and my own development around those, and then working on my timing, working on my feel. You know, like if I listen to some of my funk stuff, like, oh, I'll go back and I record typically almost everything, so I'll go back and watch the tape, because the tape is never going to lie. We might lie to ourselves and be like, oh man, I was straight, and then listen to it and like, oh, that was a little loose. Maybe I can do this, whatever. So I'll see like things that I need to work and polish on, and I'll go back and work on those particular techniques. And like, you know, I like Corey Wong and I like Mark Lettieri. They have this whole funk thing down where they just they can play like a whole bunch of different rhythms. And like, so sometimes I'll try to practice like, oh, I missed this right here. Let me work on this. Let me find the chords that fit a little bit better. So I'm always working on different like techniques in order to kind of tighten it up. And that's typically what I'll do.
That thing that you said about recording yourself, I think it's so important, because the dimension of what you're doing changes so much when you're not playing, and when you're just listening to yourself. It's like a totally different experience, right? And I mean, I think it's very, very, very important for any musician, but especially for us guitar players, because like, for instance, what you said, playing on time, we need to commit to that, not only drummers and bass players, right?
Very true, very true. Very true.
Because some people think it's, you know, it's not their business, but I think it is, you know.
Especially, like I said, because if we're off time, it throws everything. Because people look over there and be like, what are you doing, bro? I'm like, you know, so like, you definitely got to make sure you're on time. Like, you know, it's really important. So working on that muscle, it definitely helps you out tremendously.
Oh, yeah, of course. And also it's going to make everything else sound more musical and more enjoyable for the rest of the people, of course. Yeah. So let me ask you this: what would be the three main advices that you would give to an aspiring musician?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is, number one, understanding the art of being a good person. We talked about that before. Like, you got to be a good person, regardless of how talented you are. Like, if you see there's areas where people are like, yo, like your attitude or how you talk to people, like, work on those things. Because at the core, if your core is good, people will be a little bit more forgiving when you're not as musically strong, because people will be more apt to help you out, right?
Yeah, that's right.
When it comes to music, learn and be as versatile as possible. It doesn't mean you got to go out there and like, I want to spin or sign up for every course to do whatever. Just try to get enough to be, when I say dangerous, that means enough to where you can just get through it, where you can play at a level. So if you need some help, somebody can help you out, but you don't have to be so proficient in everything, because in order to be proficient, that takes years of really
yeah.
just locking in. And now I think, people understand the full scope of what that looks like. Taking them so many years to lock in, but just enough to where you know enough to be dangerous. And then two, I would say, use social media. Like, social media gets you connected to people all over the world. Do not be afraid to share your gift. Understand that sometimes when you share your gift, or when you share your gift, everybody's not going to appreciate it. But be consistent. Consistency is going to help you win in the long term. Because especially if you're trying to be seen, people don't discover you in the same way that they did before, where like, oh, we found you, like, oh, you may be in St. Louis, we're going to fly you out to New York. That doesn't typically happen. But what will happen is people will inquire, maybe like, okay, do you do sessions? Do you record? Can you record remotely? Now you're getting work. So like, using your platform to share the gift and show people what you can do will definitely help you. So those are the three things I would say. There definitely areas to focus in on. If I was brand new to playing guitar, and kind of help somebody just really kind of jumpstart themselves. And then I would say the last thing I would say, like a fourth kind of as an added bonus, never stop learning. Never stop learning. When I mean in that sense, if somebody's giving you some information, my mom used to say this to me all the time, is learning how to pick the fish off the bone. If you ever had to eat fish that has bones in it, it's very intricate, it's very delicate, like getting the meat off of there. Yeah. Sometimes you may not need the whole piece. You just need what you need to get, but like always listen and learn. Because sometimes somebody's going to drop some nuggets on you that you didn't even know, but if you automatically tune them out, you're going to miss that opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Man, words of wisdom, for sure. Yes. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. And well, I mean, it's a pleasure to have you here, to have you also as part of the Vegatrem family. How do you like your VT1, by the way?
Listen, I was saying this before to you. I don't know what you guys put in this thing or how you built it. When I say it's a phenomenal piece of equipment, especially playing the style that I play, where I rely heavily on the trim. And just the way that it's just like, it's so buttery. It makes my tone so incredible. Even when I take dives, occasionally when I'm doing certain kind of chords to take dives, and people are just like, "Oh my God, like what do you have in there?" And just when I've met a couple other guitar players that have Vegatrems, and I'm just like, it's like a fraternity, it's like a brotherhood. I'm like, "Oh, you got one too? You got one too?" So it's just, I mean, it's an amazing piece of equipment, man. You guys really have found something special that I feel like it can definitely help the guitar community. Doesn't matter if you play like metal, doesn't matter if you play like R&B. Yeah, that's what I love, the versatility of it. It covers such a wide range, so that's why I think it's like super dope, man. So man,
thank you so much.
You guys got something super special, man.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and of course we love the way you use it, because you always vibrate those chords so beautifully, and that's very special. It's that's the good thing about it. It's good for metal guys doing dive bombs or Van Halen style things like that, but also people like you use it in a totally different way, and it's amazing as well. So man, thank you so much for being part of the Vegatrem family.
Glad to be a part, man.
Man. So if you guys don't know Mr. Kerry Too Smooth Marshall, we're going to leave the links of all his social media down here. And of course, give him a follow. And if you guys can check out Kerry's camp, it's an amazing teaching platform. And I'm pretty sure you guys are going to enjoy getting a little bit of the chops of this guy, because it's just amazing. It's just amazing. And for real, it's very, very cool. So we're gonna leave it here. This has been Guitar Chat. So till next time, be safe, be happy, and play a lot your guitar. Bye, Kerry.
Bye, man. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.